Uh, Last time I went on a rant, I believe it was my Hasbro rant, and no, actually no, it was my WWE rant. But going back to the Hasbro rant, I was talking about stuff that they should bring back, and mostly the GI Joe. But I mentioned the toy line from the '90s called Karate Fighters. Um, the funny thing about this toy line is the fact that it was clearly created by some white guy that knows absolutely nothing about martial arts. Uh, it's very stereotypical, and most Asians should probably be offended by it. Uh, but getting into it, they made altogether like 18 different characters for this one little universe, and it was pretty successful. Uh, First off, it started off the first ever commercial Karate Fighters. Now, granted, this is different styles of martial arts. It's not always karate. However, the translation for karate is open hand. So basically, open hand fighters. Hand-to-hand combat fighters. So regardless of what style of martial art they're gonna say, it pretty much, it doesn't, contradict it. And the first four karate fighters that were ever released were this guy here, Dragon Kick, and the Red Ninja. Okay? Now, the way this works was this controller here would spin, and as he flails back and forth, the idea, of course, from here, you got him, he's flailing back and forth on the other controller. You're supposed to try to hit the trigger right here, and it would actually send the guy flying right off. And the rules were, okay, you knock him off 5 times, you win the game. But if you just had him hanging like this, you just reset. Cool rule to play by. Aside from these two, the other set that you had, because toys back in the 90s and especially the 80s, they used to have like alternate versions of whatever it was, like prime example, the first Super Soaker, the Super Soaker 50. They advertised that commercial, great commercial, like better than a regular squirt gun. All of a sudden they said also available in the Super Soaker 100 and Super Soaker 30. So if you don't have as much money to buy the this, here's a Super Soaker 30, and if you have even more money to spend, here's a Super Soaker 100. And where is it? Okay, the second set that came with this, because these were both released at the same time. Dragon Kick and the Red Ninja. But then there was also Thunderfoot, who is Native American, and Skull Crusher, who's actually supposed to be Chinese. He looks more like I have no idea what he looks like. He looks more like Aztec than anything. And the biggest problem with the first releases of these four was, like, I fixed it with him as well as the other two that I showed. Biggest problem that they had with these was this: the legs come off entirely too easily. You'd be in the middle of the battle and pow, leg pop off. The first ever booklets that were released for this is going to be right here. What happened was later on that they re-released and they got rid of Thunderfoot and Skull Crusher, and they were replaced by these two guys, which I showed you the last time, which was Kickstar and Corporal Punishment. Now, let me read you the backstory on these guys, and it's just from this little booklet here. It shows the backstory behind all this is like in a mystical land far away. The ancient sensei calls his disciples before him. This is the sensei talking. I call for a great tournament to be held. Let us see who the greatest karate fighter of all is. Now, you see him right there on the cover, you also see these two ninjas in the background. Now, this is supposed to be karate, but you know this guy is clearly, this man is Chinese with the Fu Manchu. And then, okay, let's go over the backstories for these guys. For you got Dragon Kick and the Red Ninja. For the Red Ninja, it's like if you have survived battle with this fearsome foe with his lightning fast karate chop, the Red Ninja quickly crushes all who threaten him. Okay, pretty interesting. His name is Shotokan. That's it. That's his name, Shotokan. Shotokan is a different style of karate, and yeah. Then location, Asia. Can't possibly be any more vague than that. Symbol, ninja. They all have symbols across their chest, and I guess the symbol right there, I guess, says ninja. I don't speak Japanese, and of course the camera shows this backwards. So if anybody could, you know, anybody who speaks Japanese could please let me know if that's actually correct. Then you got Dragon Kick. Dragon Kick, known as, where is he? He's just here. Anyway, Dragon Kick. Justin, dig this. Justin Tsunami. Really? That's the best. That's the best that they could come up with. Well, you're not going to be able to read it because it'll be backwards anyway. What I always loved about Dragon Kick is the fact that, I mean, if you look at him, this was the stereotypical martial artist of the late 80s, early 90s. The oversized, sweatpants. They had the Otomics, the martial art sneakers, high tops, and then of course, they got the, the boxing hand wraps, and then just this ridiculous hairdo, somewhat reminiscent of Dragon Ball Z. And if you look closely at him, he could pass for Asian, half Asian, but these drawings, and then especially the guy that they had in the commercial, doesn't necessarily do it justice. And then Justin Tsunami, I mean, seriously, that's his last name. That's just dumb. And him, at least his location isn't that vague. They say he's in Los Angeles. Then you go to Kickstarter and Corporal Punishment. Corporal Punishment is once a Marine, and now the sensei's right. Okay, first off, first mistake they made, write that in there. The beret. Marines don't wear berets. Okay? It's like sensei's right-hand man. It's like if, of course, that makes absolutely no sense. They, at least, they added a black guy, into this little universe, because these guys were not, him and Corporal, Kickstar were not released till later, and I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. And then Kickstar is something else. He's supposed to be a Marine, but he's wearing an Army beret. And then you got Kickstar. Kickstar being, it says Kickstart. Okay, first off, Bailey Stubb is Corporal Punishment's name. Then this guy, Brad Willis, and it's almost as if they're trying to say he's Bill Wallace. Brad Willis. Kickstar is an expert at boxing and kickboxing. Okay. Any martial artist looking at this guy right now, look at the uniform, look at the chest piece. This is not kickboxing. This is taekwondo. This guy's supposed to be a freaking taekwondo, expert, black belt, and like I said, this was written by some white guy who knows absolutely nothing about martial arts. I'm not complaining about it because this was still a very, very cool. This was a very cool toy line, but like I said, they need to revamp this, and they got a lot of corrections to make, because this is just, if anything, this was just further people's ignorance about both martial arts as well as Asian culture. Now, what a lot of people, what you couldn't get in in stores were these two guys right here. These are the other two ninjas that I showed you that are in the background here. Their names are the Dark Ninja and Silver Sword. Now, I have the Dark Ninja. Okay, he's just an all-black repaint of the Red Ninja, but he's got purple wraps around his wrist and a purple mask, and he actually looks pretty cool. And that big dragon on his back, which is actually the symbol here for karate fighters. Now, as far as this backstory, his name is Mark Noon. So this guy isn't even Asian. His name is Mark Noon. He's like the most mysterious karate fighter of all. His location is Seattle. Really? His symbol's the yin yang. Yin yang being Chinese. And his power is he can see in total darkness. That's just stupid. Okay, then the other ninja they have here, I don't have him unfortunately, is Silver Sword. Chandra Donahue. Again, dude's not even Asian. Silver Sword is a Aikido wait, what? He's an Aikido master dressed up as a ninja. Who teaches self-defense and works as a bodyguard. It's just they just had this all wrong. The reason why they had to replace the other guys is because I showed you that the legs kept popping off, but you do not have that problem with Kickstar and Corporal Punishment, because if you notice right here, they actually have, an open fist, or like a kung fu grip for them to grab, while you can see with Dragon Kick, as well as with, Red Ninja, Thunderfoot, Skull Crusher, and even the Dark Ninja, their fists are closed, and they're like this, which I totally understand, but the reason why they changed it to this was because eventually what happened was Bradley decided to expand into electronic karate fighters. This is basically an expansion. What happens is I have here gave away the surprise. This is Tiger Ninja. Tiger Ninja fought against, where is it? Cyber Fist. Now, same rules apply. Only difference being, now, just like with Corporal Punishment and Kickstar, they have those open kung fu grips, right? Now, reason being is because all of a sudden now they have weapons they can hold, which is a pretty cool concept. Now, by the time they started releasing the ones that look like this with the open fist, they didn't have the problem with the legs popping off anymore, which is great. But then what you have here is this base. The control's a lot different. The spinner is not in the back like over here. There's no handle. The handles are actually pretty easy to break. I had one, I had one before. I got this pair, and the thing just shattered, just absolutely shattered. I tried gluing it back together, nothing worked. So to have it right here, you hold it on one side, and then you twist here, and this is battery operated, and it's got a little speaker right there, so you can actually hear the combat sounds of him, flailing back and forth. And what I especially love about this one is that as soon as they have the peg that they're supposed to plug into, rather than just that, they have these two triggers here, which is the other electronic controller, so that it's held down. That way you can make that sound, but if they ever get knocked off, okay, this one's stuck. Hang on. If they ever get knocked off, There we go. Hang on one second. Yeah, you see that? Yeah, now it wants to make the sound without me even touching it. Uh, basically, make the sound of him screaming as he gets knocked off. It sounds like when that giant rat kept getting stabbed in The Princess Bride. But I digress. Um, and even the backstories for these guys were absolutely ridiculous as well. You had Tiger Ninja and Cyber Fist, and then you had Samurai Ninja versus Headstone. Okay, this is Samurai Ninja. Cool concept, cool design. Again, the open with the open fist because these guys also held weapons. This is Headstone, basically a knockoff of Marvel's Tombstone, a little bit more reminiscent of Frankenstein's monster, and Samurai Ninja being a complete contradiction because samurais were bound by Bushido while ninjas had absolutely no code of conduct. So similar cover. You see the four main characters, and then again you got the Dark Ninja and Silver Sword in the background. The exact same thing on the cover. The Sensei, like a call for the great tournament. Now, here you got the Samurai Ninja. Real name is Terrence Lucas. Again, this guy isn't even Asian. Not gonna location Chicago. Does not get any more so not Asian than that. It's just ridiculous. Then you got Headstone, Dempster Guthrie. It was like location unknown cave. It's just ridiculous. Then we get into Cyber Fist and Tiger Ninja. Sloan Chulik for Cyber Fist. His back and Ray Samora. I have from Miami. Is he supposed to be Cuban? I don't. Samora. Is that even Spanish? Is that even a Spanish name? Anybody get to me because he's supposed to be from Miami. And Tiger Ninja. I'm pretty sure was not. It was not an original concept. However, because what winds up happening is Silver Sword is actually just a repaint. It shows them, holding the weapons and, on the stands here, is actually just a repaint of the Tiger Ninja. That's how Silver Sword is supposed to look. In order to get Dark Ninja or Silver Sword, you had to send in the special order. Which, as a kid, by the time these came out, I was already a teenager. So that's when everybody's telling me that, oh yeah, you're not supposed to be playing with toys anymore. It's like, so, what? They stopped being fun. What's the What's the problem? And then most of any of the real friends that I had, they were also toy collectors, and I was pretty much left out of the loop. I never got these. My little cousin, got a few of these. He never sent out for these, but I would play with him with these a lot. And so I don't have Silver Sword. I have no idea where to find him. And this was a great concept. Then when they because once they came out with these, that's when they reprinted and made Corporal Punishment and Kickstar in order to match up, because they can actually hold the weapons while Dragon Kick, Red Ninja, Thunderfoot, Skullcrusher, even Dark Ninja can't. Then weird stuff started to happen. Where is it? See, Hasbro had acquired Kenner. Hasbro, owning Milton Bradley, decided that it'd be a good idea to start bringing all the Kenner stuff over to Hasbro. So one of the first things that they did was Batman Night Force Ninjas. Now, Batman Night Force Ninjas was a toy collection all on its own, but then what they did was they made it Karate Fighter style. of Batman versus Joker. It was a Batman variant. Then in the early, they also had one for Small Soldiers. Chip Hazard versus Archer. They weren't necessarily very detailed because Hasbro did the Small Soldiers toy line. And those, oh man, those were some awesome looking toys. Then you got when not I think it was Lost World Jurassic Park. Hasbro still makes the Jurassic Park toys. There hasn't been a Jurassic Park movie in good. When was the last Jurassic Park movie? I think I was still in the Marine Corps. No, as a matter of fact, when Jurassic Park 3 came out, that's when they released the Battling Raptors, Karate Fighter style. And in 2001, when they brought back G.I. Joe with Image Comics and Hasbro brought back a Real American Hero versus Cobra, here's Duke. Duke was supposed to be paired off with Alley Viper, and I didn't have I found Duke separate. They had the Alley Viper for a little while, but I saw no reason in getting it. Now I actually might get it in the near future. Basically, exact same concept, and of course the trigger right there to knock him off. He had the military motif. I originally thought I hadn't seen these in so long. I thought he was Corporal Punishment. Then I remember, it's like, wait a minute. They had the G.I. Joe version of this, and Corporal Punishment was supposed to be black. Alright. Then came the third rendition of Karate Fighters, which I was not too big a fan of. In fact, I might not even get these. I might, I'm leaning towards might not. I'm not in a hurry, but I probably will just for this, just for the sole purpose of having the whole collection. Morphing action. These guys were basically, now all of a sudden they had an extra special feature. Either you had two helmets that would clap on top of their head, or they had 4 extra arms to basically cheat. That's the only possible use for stuff like that. And they used a different type of, redesigned version of the electronic. It was a big diamond, and you have this whole dragon design on it. It looked kind of nice. But the only one of these guys I would want would be the one Sun Warrior. And these are just, these names and stuff take the cake. Sun Warrior, clearly this guy, clearly that kid is Asian, right? Clearly Sun Warrior is Asian. His name, R.J. Rockwell. Come on. Then it was him and Razor Jaw. Razor Jaw just had this giant helmet with teeth clasped down, while Sun Warrior had this cool looking dragon's head come down. Then for the guys with the 4 extra arms, you had Serpent Strike and the Iron Claw. Basically, it's like Medusa versus Dracula with spider arms. Not cool concept at all. These were not necessarily the last ones put out like this. These also had, I believe, open hands. Actually, yeah, these guys also had the open. I'm tired because it's late. The open kung fu grip, so they could grab weapons, which I don't understand what they needed it for, because they already had them. Now, the last thing I believe that they ever released for Karate Fighters was, we have here the 4-fighter combat arena. This did not come. I don't know if it was supposed to have a booklet. It says it's supposed to have instructions, but I did not get this with instructions. This is the 4-fighter combat arena. This was pretty unique design. Basically, make it so that more than two people can play. And what was awesome about it was, rather than using these to try to twist back and forth, a majority of the time what happens is you got guys picking the controller off of the table. So needless to say, people are cheating. So now what happens is you take them, you place them right there. This was not electronic. This was just regular. And now what happens is you got 4 different dragon's heads. And the dragon's heads, since this is laid perfectly flat, you just pull back and forth. And you get the same reaction as if you were using the controllers. And obviously last man standing wins. I don't know if the same rules apply when it came to this, but this just made it a lot more interesting. And the 2 guys that it came with were... These were probably the dumbest names that they could have possibly come up with. If they ever remake these, they absolutely need to get rid of this. The Tattooed Terror and Rex Havoc. Oh my, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. The idea that they had though here, it was interesting, like unstoppable and unbeatable, and you see the 2 new characters fighting and obviously giving them a run for their money. You see them fighting Red Ninja and Dragon Kick, those 2 being the ones that started everything, and it was a cool concept. Altogether, like I said, it was 18 different characters just for this little Karate Fighters universe alone. You could have easily made a video game for it. You could just do this little flash game on the hub, on the hub.com. Make a little mini series out of it, because it's supposed to be a tournament, so you're not gonna have multiple seasons about it. Otherwise, you're gonna wind up with something dumb like Chuck Norris Karate Commandos. Granted, the cartoon's a classic, but it was a stupid concept. It had great toys, don't get me wrong, and of course it was Chuck Norris, but the show was retarded. When you get to stuff like this, you need clearly you need a better writer, better storyteller. By the time anybody sees stuff like this, it needs to be tested. You have to have the toys out. I'm telling you, basically recreate it, but like I said in the first time, as opposed to constantly packaging 2 of them with more controllers and another 2 with more controllers, sell the figures separately. That way people get a better selection as to what it is that they want, because you had so many different characters for people to choose from. It's like when Street Fighter 2 came out. Now that you didn't have just Ryu or Ken to pick from, now, okay, you had a girl, you had a military man, you had a pro wrestler, you had this beast, you had this you had a sumo wrestler. Variety. People love variety, and I say, okay, sell Dragon Kick and Red Ninja separately, but to get the controllers, sell the ugly characters. Sell the the ones that won't sell individually. To get the controllers, you need to buy the box set of Thunderfoot and Skull Crusher, stuff like that. Bring in the weapons. Start off electronically if you have to. Hell, even remake the 4-fighter combat arena electronic. Make it so that the legs don't pop off as easily. And again, add a little bit more detail, a little bit more articulation. And I am absolutely positive that you can do a lot with this. I would love to see these toys re-released. I would love to see a story behind it. A cartoon. Do it from this, even if it's done by the same people who animated G.I. Joe Renegade. Basically, the sensei calls a tournament. Then it's Dragon Kick and the Red Ninja, the main protagonist. And and they have to go through all the good and the bad karate fighters. And I'm pretty much done. God bless.